back. Sorry about that. You're not going to heaven just because they've aborted a child or because they're gay, but because they've done a lot of other stuff, because the standard for getting into heaven is perfection. And we can't achieve that standard by ourselves. That's why we need Jesus. And she kind of got that, but she kind of didn't. I don't know. Yeah, so I kind of just reiterated, like, when it comes down to it, it's going to be you standing before God. And is Jesus going to pay for your sin, or is it going to be you? And that's kind of like the main issue we had. Because people will fail. People can fail, and they probably always will fail given the chance. So, relying on people, yes, may be a big part of your walk, but it shouldn't be the determining factor. Jennifer and Jonathan, who were German siblings, and it was their final day of their 3-week holiday in Brisbane. For some reason they got separated from their parents. They were like teenagers and they were willing to have a really long chat. One of my friends on the team actually chatted with the brother, and I got to chat with the sister who was like, come on, let's go, kind of thing. It's a really good conversation. Catholic background, if I'm remembering correctly. She kind of believed, she was raised Catholic, liked the karma system from Buddhism, but believed once you die nothing happened. And I was like, oh, what a spread. But she did believe in God, and so I went with that. I was like, so what do you think the Creator thinks about you? Is he happy with you? Is he angry? What do you think? And so she really thought about that, which was cool. She was really insistent that her good works were getting her into heaven, and I could kind of tell. Sometimes you want to be really honest with someone, especially brutally honest with someone, and be like, no, that's not it. But for some reason I felt like I needed to almost be a little bit nicer to her in a sense, not just crush her with the scripture going, your good works are like filthy rags and stuff like that, but like show her and explain. One of the examples we use is, let's say I commit a crime over here in the morning, and then I do 3 good things over there in the afternoon. Are the police going to ignore my crime because of 3 good things I've done, or are they still going to arrest me? And everyone usually says they're still going to arrest you. And that's the point. The crime still needs to be punished. No amount of good things over there is going to get rid of the crime you've done. The only way that crime punishment can be satisfied is if you're fully punished for it. And so we kind of use that as an example of, hey, your good is not going to pay for your bad. And people generally usually get that afterwards, but they still like to be like, oh, but I'm a good person afterwards. And you're like, but are you perfect? Are you good enough to God's standard? Because you're not going to be judged on your own standard, you're being judged to God's standard. So that's another concept for them. But it was really cool. Throughout the chat, sorry, I'm getting notifications here and there. Eventually afterwards, both her and her brother wanted to trust in Jesus for their salvation at the end. And so I kind of got to speak to 2 of them at the same time, being like, hey, this is something really serious. We are warned to count the cost. You may lose friends, family. You may lose your life. And so at the end of the conversation, really emphasizing the cost, I think helps new believers. It really almost sobers the conversation in a way, but reminding them, hey, if we lost everything on this tiny 80 years, it's like the fingernail to the circumference of the earth, it's worth nothing in the eyes of eternity. So that was a really cool reminder. I had a chat with a lovely Seoul, Korean student from Seoul. I've had a few translation issues here and there. Like, her English was really good in some sections, but then it wasn't too great in other sections. So we were working through that. But when we started talking about, she also insisted that she was a good person. That was kind of a theme that ran through tonight. She got really teary when she realized that her good works weren't enough, which I was like, is she crying because something else? Is she crying because of like the weight of her sin? Like, I don't get it kind of idea. So that was, yeah, you've always got to kind of judge those situations. She admitted that she'd never really thought about the things that come after, but when I did kind of like press her a little bit, she was like, oh yeah, I'd love to come back in like another life. And I was like, but that doesn't make sense. And I showed her how it doesn't make sense. Like, if the population is increasing despite the same amount of souls, how does that work? And that still all points to a creator who needed to create all the souls to begin with. And so she got the idea of that. That was kind of cool. Yeah, so it was really cool because I pulled out the tract that we often use, and it's a picture of someone who's trusting, who deserves, who should get a picture of someone of what they deserve, and then a picture of someone who's put their trust in Jesus. And I'm showing her and I'm speaking through to it, and she immediately points to it and she's like, that's me. And I was like, but do you know what you need to do to get to here? And she's like, yeah. So that was really cool that we got to chat with and that she understood that. I had a conversation with another lady who's a frequenter, is that the word? Who frequently visits King George Square. She's a lovely homeless lady. Had a long chat about just the way that church works. She, what I'm finding with a lot of people who call themselves a Christian but can't tell me the simplicity of the gospel is that they're really into like situations that have happened to them. They're relying, they use that as evidence. So she was talking about all these epic things that have happened, that she's like seeing this and that, and I'm like, but what's getting you to heaven? What is the simplicity? What is the central act of Christianity? And she couldn't answer that, and said she actually got a little angry at me for it. She's like, you just want to question me all day. And I was like, yeah, that's the whole point. But yeah, so just remembering the centrality of the Christian faith, just the simplicity of it too. Like, every time I get to evangelize to someone, I'm just like, oh, it's just so simple, isn't that? Yeah, so it's pretty cool. And it finished off with a lovely conversation with a very mature Christian of the faith who was also actually 40 years ago became a Christian at the exact same square that we were in. And so that was really cool chatting with him. He has a wonderful international ministry, and yeah, so that was a very long, cool conversation, but just always reminding me of the simplicity and the beauty of the Christian message, which is that while we deserve punishment for defying and as criminals walking on this earth, that God still loved us while we were in sin. And he loved us so much that he sent his only son to take the penalty and the punishment that I deserve. And because of Jesus, I not only get to go to heaven, I not only have assurance of that, I can be reconciled with God. So that's pretty amazing. But I think that's all for now. So God bless.